Hello, this is Darkon, and this is a beginner's guide extra. This will be filled with those questions that you might have that wasn't in the first video, and some things that I just forgot about that can help you as a whole. This video should also be shorter, and unlike the previous one, I will mention in what order I will be talking about certain subjects. So if there's a particular subject you're interested in, you can skip ahead. In order, they are mounts and chocobo barding, veteran rewards, commendations, needed cross-class abilities, limit breaks, grinding, free company bonuses, leveling too quickly and face pulling, and finally, explaining the beginning cinematic. Now, mounts come in all shapes and sizes, and while some are only gotten in certain ways, like pre-ordering or having the collector's edition, to doing certain things, like the Eternal Bond or winning a lot in the front lines. And several are just from subbing to the game for a certain amount of time. However, most are gotten from just spending time in the game and working towards getting them. Barding, or rather chocobo barding, was originally thought by many to be just something like armor that we have out on our characters, and that each barding would give different defenses or abilities and such. That wasn't the case though. Barding looks like armor, but it's just for looks. You can get barding from the grand company that you joined, with each set costing more, but also each set looking more regal or just overall better than the last. Once you join another grand company, both your skills and barding for that company are locked. So remember that, and don't panic when you don't have access to them. You can gain the use of them again if you rejoin the same grand company. You also gain barding from getting that last ability in your chocobo's chosen path. So it is why it is advised that you choose only one path that will suit you when choosing where to put your chocobo's ability points in. Those bardings are the Dragoon barding for the DPS path, the White Mage barding for the healing path, and the Tank barding for, well, the tank path. There's also barding that you can only get from the collector's edition, that being the Behemoth barding. As cool as some barding is, it is just vanity, so no reason to stress out over it. There's also barding you can only get from past seasonal events, like the Starlight, the Egg Harness, which is just a headpiece, the Eerie barding, and the Paramore barding. Unlike other seasonal items that can be gotten on the Mog Station for a fee, these ones haven't made an appearance, so it's unknown if they can ever be gotten again yet. There's also ones gotten from veteran rewards. I will talk about veteran rewards next, and those bardings are the Black Mage barding for 180 days or 6 months, and the Barding of Light for 360 days or 12 months. Now, veteran rewards are pretty simple. You get a set of rewards for subbing to the game for a certain amount of time, like housing furniture, minions, extra Fantasia, gear that's pretty much just meant for glamour, and of course mounts, like the Airman mount or the Behemoth mount. It doesn't matter how much time you have played, but rather the amount you have subscribed to. If you paid for 6 months, you'll get all veteran rewards up to the 6-month mark, and then after the 6 months, if you subscribe again for another 6 months, you'll get all of them up to the 12-month mark. But you only get all the rewards once per character. So no matter if you're paying per month or all at once, you will still get those items. Commendations are something you can use on other players in your party after completing a dungeon. But you can only give one out if they were not part of your group when you entered. This is there to prevent people from farming commendations easily to get the gear, barding, and mounts. So don't forget to use them on a person you think deserves it, and remember, DPS does work in dungeons too, not just the healers and tanks. In the game, there are some needed cross-class abilities in order to play certain roles effectively. They won't cripple you early on, but in later game, they become a must for maximizing your role, and more often than not, come from your chosen job's second needed class in order to get that job. Like Conjurer for Scholar, Lancer for Monk, and Gladiator for Warrior. Limit breaks are simple enough, but some people don't even realize the basics of them. Naturally, there are 3 levels of limit break, and they are only available when in a group, and only a group of 8 people have access to the level 3 limit break. Healing, doing damage, and taking damage all charge it, so it just goes up naturally. Bard and healing jobs use the healing limit break, with each level doing more healing, and with level 3 being able to resurrect everyone to full health without the resurrection sickness. Tanks get the defense buff that decreases the amount of damage the group takes for a short amount of time. DPS get 2 different limit breaks, depending on the job, but both do damage. Casters get a powerful AoE, and melee DPS get a single target one. What I find that many forget or just don't even know is that the single target one always does more damage to a single target than the AoE one does, so if you're fighting an end boss of something like Crystal Tower, which is where I've seen this happen most often, let the melee DPS use it. While not a huge deal, it is wasted damage, and if you don't get used to when and where to use a limit break, you might annoy more people than you should, especially when you get to harder content later on. Grinding can often be annoying and tiresome, from fate farming to gathering those tons of materials you need for crafting. There are some easy fixes for this, but what I personally do is watch whatever show I feel like watching on my computer while I grind. But if you have a TV close by, that also works. I turn off the game sound, plain windowed mode, and then manually make the game screen smaller so I have enough room to watch what I want to watch and play the game effectively. Granted, this won't always work, and you should always pay attention during boss fights. But when you have done something so many times that you know it by heart, you can usually do it. But if you start dragging other players down, I wouldn't recommend stopping because it won't be fair to them. Free company bonuses come in the form of free company actions. These actions range from an increase to spirit bond rate, to taking less durability damage, to making food buffs last longer. These are bought by those who have the privilege in the free company to do so, and you need the use of an ethereal wheel stand and your chosen ethereal wheel, and then when you gain the free company action once it finishes charging. The other way to gain free company actions, which used to be the only way to gain them, was to buy the actions from the free company action vendor, located at any Grand Company, by the use of free company credits, which were gotten pretty much by people just playing the game, from beating monsters and bosses to just plain gathering high quality items. I feel that many use the free company credits still, as they quite often gain them more quickly than they spend them. But the ethereal wheel is useful if you're in a smaller free company and want another way to gain those actions. Also, the free company actions last a full 24 hours. Inventory control can be hard, especially early on. Many early items you gain can and should simply be vendored. You can check the market boards to see if it's worth selling or not. Remember not only to factor in the amount of gil that is taken from the sale itself, but also there is a button on the top right of the market board window when looking up one particular item that tells you when the last dozen or so were sold, as well as for how much and who bought it. Leveling too quickly might seem odd, but there is a reason I'm mentioning it. At times, people will level quickly, so quickly in fact that they don't have time to learn how to use their class effectively, even when they think they know how to do it all. And this gives rise to arguments when someone mentions that they did something wrong. While leveling quickly isn't a bad thing, just remember that you might still be missing something, so if someone is giving you sound advice, think about it. It just might help you get even better. This one is for all you tanks out there. Don't face pull. If you're wondering what I mean, I'm talking about when someone runs into a group to start a fight without using any abilities. Remember, you have ranged aggro skills for a reason. This helps by making sure you get the proper aggro early, and also when someone else attacks or casts a spell on the monster that should be on you, it won't be on them. I find the spell part happen more often, especially with healers, when they cast the healing spells at the start, and the tank might have an issue getting monsters off the healer. Now last, but not least, is the beginning story, or rather, the beginning cinematic. Final Fantasy A Realm Reborn is called that for a reason. Originally, when Final Fantasy XIV came out, it was a flop, and despite others trying, even many Final Fantasy fans just couldn't play it. It had so many problems that even after Yoshi P took over and the team working on it, or rather working on the game, began patch after patch, it got to the point where they just simply had to take the game down and almost start over from scratch. It took almost a year after it was taken offline until it was ready for release once again, with much more success. This, however, leaves some to be confused about the story, but it's actually pretty simple. The general idea is that you're one of the characters at the beginning cinematic, when you were teleported away. It wasn't a simple teleport, but rather you were sent through time and space to several years into the future. This isn't as far-fetched as it sounds, because you could have been put into a sort of stasis until that certain amount of time was passed. After all, you're basically turned into energy when you're teleported. For some unknown reason, no one remembers who the Warriors of Light were during that time, and all they can recall of them was like looking at someone when they have a very bright light behind them. You know that they were there, but you can't recall anything about them other than in generally how you felt about them. I would encourage anyone to take a look online and learn the story from Final Fantasy XIV 1.0, as it gives you so much lore and tells you about what happened, how this all started, and how it affects our characters even now. I had considered talking about how it all started, but it would take a very long time, and I believe that there are many good videos out there that will explain fully and effectively how it all happened. This is Darkon, and I hope you enjoyed a beginner's guide to preparing for Final Fantasy XIV Heavensward Extras. Bye!